tomar alguma penalidade por direitos autorais. Oh,
Probably.
you got earbuds. Eu tenho fone de ouvido hoje.
Yeah, well, you know, I
Yeah,
hope
good.
it helps out with the sound.
Nossa, o som melhorou muito.
Really? Okay, great.
Yeah,
So
o som melhorou
that's
muito.
awesome.
É.
Okay, that's great.
Como foi
I
a
was a bit
semana?
concerned about that.
Boa
Just
semana?
fine, and yourself?
Nice.
Yeah, good.
Mais ou menos. Cansado.
More or less.
Pouco
Oh,
cansado.
dear.
Essa semana eu trabalhei mais do que na semana passada, então estou mais cansado. Hoje eu
I
trabalhei
see.
também. Hoje eu trabalhei também, ok?
Yeah, I was working too. You know, I ended up, I was working at the EAS again.
Ah, você voltou?
Yeah, I came back to
Nice.
do
Okay.
English for a bit. Hopefully, they'll be able to find somebody by April. They weren't able to find somebody. For
As crianças te amam, Rob.
Oh, yeah, no. The thing is, I love them. I love them too. And big shout out for all of our students, especially Davey. I didn't get the chance to talk to him.
Yeah.
But
Daqui a pouco ele está aqui.
He's our loyal listener, so hopefully
ele sempre traz alguns insights assim bem interessantes, né? Ele traz alguns pontos de vista assim, interessantes.
You have to get him on sometime. So,
Nós já demos uma prévia para nossa audiência na semana passada que hoje estaremos falando sobre imigração. Lembra?
Right. So, yes, we gave a heads up about what we were going to talk about, and going to make sure we talk about it today. And that's great, yeah.
E eu acho que qualquer pessoa que mora fora do seu país aí vai se sentir um pouco relacionado com o que a gente vai falar hoje. Hello to Raf. Raf is watching us.
Hey, Raf. Rafael.
Principalmente eu sou imigrante, ok?
Hey, me too. I'm an immigrant too.
Yeah, I'm an immigrant, yeah. Eu sou um imigrante aqui no Japão. Yeah, Immigrant Song! E eu pensei em colocar Immigrant Song. Achei bem interessante. Rob, então você tem uma experiência como imigrante também.
Yes, in fact, my father was an immigrant. I'm an immigrant.
Ok. Mas meu pai também era imigrante. Eu acho que minha família...
Right, so
we're... Uma família de imigrantes.
We're following in the footsteps of our
exatamente, dos nossos pais, né?
Yeah. And that's
Rob,
the difference, yeah.
Oh, nossa, meu Deus, o seu som tá muito bom agora. O que você fez?
Yeah. Well, no, I plugged in the earphones.
Nossa, parece que você tá dentro da minha cabeça agora. Dá até um pouco de medo.
Oh, that's interesting.
Parece que você tá aqui. Uau.
Well, I hope it sounds better than the last couple versions we've had. Yeah.
Bom, eu tenho aqui, já preparei mais ou menos uma estrutura para a nossa conversa hoje à noite. É sempre bom tentar seguir mais ou menos uma ordem para a nossa conversa. E também eu gostaria de iniciar dizendo que, como sempre, é importante manter as nossas mentes abertas, não somente para o que nós acreditamos, mas também para o que o outro tem a dizer. Confere?
That's right. So it's important that every time, doesn't matter if we disagree or agree, that we're educated with each other. We speak to each other with respect and things.
Yep.
And I think that this is what's going to further the conversation more than putting somebody in a box and saying, you believe this, so you're this, Yeah.
Eu acho que é importante você colocar o seu point across, tentar passar a sua ideia, né? Mas também é mais importante ainda tentar entender o ponto do outro também, né? O que o outro está querendo dizer.
Right. I mean, a lot of people think it's important to win arguments when you're really kind of wanting to win converts to what you want to promote. So.
Essa semana eu assisti assisti muitos debates, né? Assisti a alguns documentários sobre imigração para poder me preparar um pouco para essa conversa. E eu percebi que, assim, os debates, em especial debates em TV, acabam se tornando uma briga, vira briga, ok?
Então, well, yeah, if you watch any of the mainstream news media, you'd think everybody's trying to kill each other. With how much they fight, It's all this fight over everything. Yeah.
Hello, Tiberius. Tiberius watching?
Tiberio. Right on.
Yeah.
The guy's got the coolest name ever. He's got the coolest name.
Tem chapéu dele também.
Tiberio Ferrari. I mean, come on.
Ferrari,
how much better name
eu gostaria de ter esse nome.
It's the best name ever. So, yeah.
E a marca registrada dele é o chapéu. Tibério, não deixe de usar o seu chapéu nunca, ok? Eu gosto do chapéu dele. Gosto do chapéu dele. Bom, essa noite estamos falando sobre imigração. A gente está aqui para ter uma discussão saudável. Eu não quero, por mais que as nossas opiniões sejam diferentes, eu quero entender o seu ponto de vista e eu quero levantar algumas perguntas também. Pessoal que tiver interessado em deixar algum comentário aí embaixo, né? Mesmo se você... É bom, eu sempre esqueço de compartilhar, ok? Então deixa eu compartilhar aqui. Ok?
Go ahead and share. Go ahead and share as well.
See if I can actually share. Porque, pessoal, lembrando que isso aqui é uma live, ok? Mas ela se tornará um podcast, que provavelmente estará disponível amanhã, porque demora algumas horinhas até com que fique disponível, ok?
Right, just for everybody out there, share and like, because this is also going to be a podcast, so if you're having the opportunity, it does take a few hours for it to get uploaded, but it should be a podcast within about an hour or two, or maybe by tomorrow.
Till tomorrow, yeah.
Right, tomorrow.
Migration. Deixa eu só colocar o título aqui. Então, o título é exatamente esse. Eu achei esse título por aí na internet, em um dos debates, que era imigração, direito humano? Seria um direito humano poder imigrar?
Well, yeah, okay, that's a great question, and I like it. So your question is immigration a human right? I love that. That's a great way to start it out. It's something I can. I believe that this is the one thing that a lot of people might disagree with, and there's a lot of good reasons to disagree with it. But I think that a human right is you have the right to exist.
Exactly.
And I find that the worst thing about governments is that they restrict humans' rights to exist in certain areas. And I understand why they do it, but I don't agree with it. So I think that it is, in fact, one of our natural rights as a human is to be able to walk around the earth.
Sim. O principal motivo pelo qual existe essa restrição de movimento, né, seria, no caso, pelo que eu percebi, principalmente econômica. Confere?
Right. Yes, because the reason that a lot of people say that it's an economic reason for restricting the movement of people is because one country or one group of people, we can put it on a small level, my house, okay? So I build a house and my house fits, my kids and my family. And then somebody comes in and says, well, I'm a human being. I deserve to be able to walk into this house. Because it's raining, and then another one comes in, and another one comes in, and so the resources that I've accumulated now have to go for more people, and
obviamente isso não funciona.
Right, and that's the main argument. So if we put it on the smallest scale possible and go from there, then that's why a lot of people can kind of like extrapolate that that's going to cause more problems but the truth of the matter is that's kind of what we would call in an argument a straw man argument. Meaning that we're going to the smallest and the most, they're going to come into our house, they're going to take our stuff.
Pros extremos, né?
Right, it's the biggest extreme, yeah.
Ok, então vamos colocar da seguinte forma. Bom que você tenha colocado aí a analogia da casa, ok? Para se tratar de imigração, que é um assunto macro, né? Um assunto de uma população inteira. Né? Então, vamos colocar da seguinte forma. A sua casa, naturalmente, é uma propriedade privada, pertence a você, confere? Naturalmente, as pessoas não podem invadir a sua casa. Seria invasão de propriedade, ok? Em inglês, me corrige, mas seria trespassing, confere?
Yeah, it could be trespassing, yes. Considered as a trespass, yeah.
Entrar em um país ilegalmente seria trespassing também?
Well, that's the big problem.
De quem que é a propriedade do país? O país é propriedade de
yeah, quem? Exactly. Well, see, with the understanding that it is the land of the citizenship, right? Of the people who live there, with the understanding of that.
Isso não é uma coisa muito tribal?
Yes, it is, and in fact, that's the big problem. Is like it's a statism, really. It's if you accept statism, right? If you accept the fact that we have to have countries, and that if you don't have a country, then if you accept things like the nation state, then you have to accept on top of that, that the country does belong to the people of that country. And for me, as what we call an anarchist or a voluntarist, a natural rightist, a person that believes in doesn't believe in statism as the best way to organize society, then I don't think that it is necessarily a right for the state to want to have a country. I think it's okay to move around as much as you want, but that's in a stateless society. If you believe in that there should be countries, then you have to also believe in borders. And that's the problem. You can't have it kind of both ways. You can't say there are no borders and yet there's countries and that way. Yeah.
O Japão já tem uma borda natural, né? O Japão já tem uma fronteira natural.
Right. When you're an island,
então, você não consegue entrar aqui tão fácil. E as pessoas querem, às vezes, usar o Japão como exemplo de um bom controle de imigração. Mas é difícil, porque é uma ilha, né? Então fica um pouco... Acho que não serve tanto de exemplo.
Right. So,
agora, o Brasil também tem uma fronteira. Chama-se Amazônia, ok? Tem o Pantanal também. Então é difícil. Mas ultimamente tem tido casos de... a Venezuela não está numa situação muito boa, ok? Então tem uma onda de pessoas entrando no Brasil. Sim.
And they have a shared border with Brazil, right?
Yeah.
In the north.
Não somente a Venezuela, também tem bastante pessoas do Haiti que estavam vindo também, né? Depois do terremoto, também estavam vindo para o Brasil. E também cubanos também. O Brasil favoreceu alguns anos atrás, creio que não muito tempo atrás, falando de 2, 3 anos atrás, trazer mão de obra especializada de Cuba, médicos no caso.
Oh, wow! Mas so they just imported their medical staff.
Também teve um grande debate no Brasil. Não deveria, porque já tem médico desempregado aqui. Então sempre... Então não é porque... Eu acho engraçado porque...
Wait a minute. Did you just say what I think you said? You said that there was a debate against the immigration of Cuban doctors because you had unemployed doctors in Brazil.
Doctors in Brazil, yeah.
They were unemployed.
Houve esse argumento. Esse argumento.
So that was something they argued. Okay, well, great, okay.
Eles sempre trazem isso. Você fala, temos médicos aqui também, né? Você vai trazer esses médicos, a mão de obra aqui vai ficar mais barata, né? Vai ficar. Então tem sempre esse argumento.
So the price of medicine. But don't you have a surplus of jobs in the medical industry because your government offers medical, nationalized healthcare? I think that was
Na verdade, precisa de médicos e
you need as many. You need a lot more.
Sim, precisamos.
You need to be able to speak Portuguese,
o Brasil precisa de médicos.
Right.
E eu acho que os médicos cubanos eram uma boa porque falam espanhol também, né? Então não é tão difícil.
It's not so impossible, right? They could actually learn Portuguese within about 6 months, 7 months. They would be pretty
todo
fluent.
País, quando começa a ter uma onda de imigração, eu não quero focar só nos Estados Unidos, que já sofre um grande desafio de como regulamentar a imigração. Não quero focar só nos Estados Unidos, porque não é um problema único americano a imigração, ok? Alguns países europeus também sofrem com isso, né? O Japão já tentou aí frear algumas vezes outros países, né? Também tem uma política, o Japão é um país que, de certa forma, relativamente fechado comparado com outros países, né?
Way closed compared to others, yeah.
Eu quero assim, colocar o assunto imigração de uma forma geral, né? Mas claro que né, queira ou não, nós vamos esbarrar nos Estados Unidos aqui, porque vai sair esse assunto.
I think it's important that we go over, like you were saying, we're talking about Japanese immigration, we're talking about European immigration, we're talking about Brazilian immigration, and we're going to talk also about the idea of immigration to the United States, because that's also a really big thing. I mean, there's a lot of people who want to immigrate to the United States. There's a lot of people who have, that's their dream, is to become an American citizen. That's the American dream for everybody living outside of the United States who doesn't have an American citizenship, is to become an American citizen and make it big in America. and that's the American dream that we always hear about, this big fable, which is interesting. And I think that when we apply it in that context, I don't think that most Americans have a problem with that. So I think that that's another
São
point
pessoas
that
que
needs to
querem
be
produzir,
made.
são pessoas que querem
Right.
fazer.
Yeah.
Agora,
Yeah, I think that's no problem. Yeah.
de volta no assunto, né?
Uhum.
O país é exatamente o Estado por si, né?
Uhum.
Acaba criando as suas leis, e acaba criando a sua fronteira, e acaba delimitando o seu território. Então, queira ou não, é uma coisa bem assim tribal dizer que certo grupo não entra aqui porque esse é o meu território, eu estou protegendo o meu território, ok? É uma disputa territorial, sim, né? Acontece entre nós. Eu acho que um dia, quando nós, seres humanos, formos de fato civilizados e avançados, não haverá mais isso. Okay?
Oh, for sure. I think that if you get to a point where humanity understands just how unreasonable the idea of the nation state is, I think a lot of people will say, "Oh, you know, Rob, you're such an anarchist because you don't believe in the nation state." But what I would say is, I look at what the nation state represents and all of the harm that it's caused over the years and years, all of this tribalism that has been
Isso, essa é a palavra,
horrible.
Tribalismo.
Yeah.
Tribalismo.
Yeah. This
Existe
tribalism
Estado,
is horrible.
Estado humano, ok? Existe o Estado humano, chama-se Planeta Terra, ok? Esse é o Estado, né? Mas eu entendo que, assim, para tentar organizar as pessoas, né, foram criados os países, até mesmo por uma questão linguística, uma questão cultural, né? Para tentar facilitar o controle, né?
That's a big word, to facilitate control.
Né?
They separated us into these nation states. That's probably the main reason for it. Yes, definitely.
Usa-se muito o patriotismo para poder comprar as pessoas, comprar o coração das pessoas.
It's very, yes, because then that taps into what is the natural predisposition for humans to have a tribalism. We see it in everything from what team you like to watch when you watch soccer games in Brazil. Like if you have this thing that you said is, in polite conversation, you don't talk about soccer, religion or politics.
Exatamente.
Yeah. And so those are the things that I think is quite interesting, because if you think about that, that's where the roots of tribalism is. People really like their identity. They really like their in-group bias. I see this a lot. Anytime somebody comes up and says, well, they have no problem with immigration or something, I like to challenge them a little bit on the idea of in-group bias. Are you saying that you don't have any in-group bias? Are you saying that in general, this group of people doesn't have an in-group bias? This idea is Japanese will tend to favor people that are Japanese. Brazilians tend to favor people who are Brazilians.
Sim, acontece, sim, é verdade.
Americans tend to favor who's American.
As pessoas tendem a confiar mais em sua própria nação, seu próprio grupo, né?
Right. And one thing that was quite interesting, I went to, I've gone to these bicycle races in different parts of the world. And I went to Mongolia last year, and it was quite interesting because every group, they didn't necessarily have an in-group bias when we were racing, but you could see that the Italians kind of got grouped together with the Italians. You saw that the Spanish were grouped into people from different parts of Spain, and you saw that the Japanese, us, the team Japan, we were grouped together.
Naturalmente as pessoas se organizam em grupo, né?
Right.
Talvez por afinidade.
This interesting thing that happened when we were there, we went into the restaurant, and almost immediately there was a table with all Asians at it. Like everybody who had like Asian looks were all in the same table. And I mean,
talvez
the thing is,
acontece.
I don't think that has anything to do with these people's mental barriers towards other people. I think everybody I met there was completely open to meeting other people, but just immediately what I saw was, boom, there's a table of Asians, and the first thing, the first person that I ended up sitting by was an American guy.
Oh,
And it was just like,
okay.
it was just like, I ended up sitting next to him and said, you know what, I'm going to go over there and sit by my team because they're Team Japan and I was on Team Japan.
Okay.
But, you know, I ended up sitting next to the American guy. We're just, we ended up talking.
Okay.
And that's who I made, my best friend who I made that in that race was an American
Olha,
guy.
eu sei que você é do time americano, mas vem comigo pro time do Japão.
Right. I mean, it was just kind of crazy that I would be, you know, that quick. And I find myself to be one of the most open-minded and most like really interested in other cultures kind of person. I mean, I speak 5 languages. I love to interact with people from different countries. But even then, it was just like an attraction that was like, boom, I was talking to the American guy there, and we were just talking about things. And I mean, he's not even from where I'm from. It's like he's from the other side of the United States. He's over the way, like all the other side of the United States.
Mas existe senso de identidade.
Right. This kind of in-group preference that people have, and it's not anything that we, you know, are trying to cultivate and trying to make like a big part of it. We fight against it. Even I try to fight against it, but it again, it's something that definitely exists.
Bom, ainda como introdução, prometo que hoje eu não vou te segurar aqui até de madrugada não, tá, Rob? Ok? Mas ainda como introdução, a ideia da analogia que você usou de reduzir o estado a uma casa foi muito interessante, e porque também me lembrou de uma outra comparação que um rapaz, em um debate que eu assisti, o nome dele era Brian Kaplan, alguma coisa, não me lembro bem o nome dele, gostaria de lembrar o nome todo dele. Mas ele disse o seguinte, olha, digamos que eu queira, que alguém queira visitar a minha casa sem o meu consentimento. Isso, naturalmente, não é uma coisa aceitável, certo?
Right.
A pessoa não vai visitar a minha casa sem o meu consentimento. Um segundo caso, digamos que eu queira convidar alguém para minha casa e essa pessoa quer vir para minha casa. Então, existe um consentimento de ambas as partes. Existe o meu consentimento, a pessoa quer vir e eu quero receber essa pessoa. Então, por que o Estado deveria dizer se aquela pessoa deveria ou não vir na sua casa?
Right. So the problem, yes, and I think that's what it like boils down to. This is the argument. Yeah.
Existe o terceiro caso, que seria, eu quero que a pessoa venha para minha casa, né? A pessoa quer vir para minha casa, mas o Estado não quer que ela venha para minha casa. Então vai contra a vontade de todo mundo, ok?
That's another point. It's a great point. Yes. Yeah.
Por que se eu quero trazer alguém para minha casa, a pessoa quer vir para minha casa, mas simplesmente por ela não ser do meu país, eu não posso trazê-la para minha casa?
Right. And I think this is the big point is, you know, you should be able to allow anybody, if you're going off that idea that this is my house and I'd like to invite somebody to my house, I should be able to allow somebody to come. And the state should have no right to say anything about that. Right. But because of, and here's the reason why that this doesn't work out and shake out the way we would like it to, because we have, what we have is the state has taken a bunch of tax money, okay? It is in the form of taxes. It is collectively taken all of this money. And if you don't want to say taxation is theft, that's fine. I can understand. A lot of people get upset about libertarian idea because we tend to use this like taxation is theft. But if we don't say that it's taxation is theft, let's say that everybody kind of pretty much understands that you have to pay taxes because you get things like roads, you get things like schools, you get things like hospitals, you get all of these benefits because of your country has given them to you. Okay, well, what that actually translates into is now if you have people coming from outside of the country who haven't spent years and years paying into this tax fund, then even though I want them to come into my house, now even though I want them to be my friend and I want them to come over, the government says, well, we hold on here. This guy hasn't paid into the taxes for the entire time of his life. And if he comes in, he's going to get all these benefits. He's going to get all these benefits for nothing. He gets them for free. And that's where it comes into, all the infrastructure, everything that everybody's put together for years, and they're going to take it and use it. And that's where people tend to say, hey, this isn't fair. And so it
Ou
comes
seja,
down to
o
that point.
interesse do grupo sobrepõe o seu interesse como indivíduo, então.
Right, that's what it's
O
basically
interesse
saying.
do
Yeah.
grupo. Não importa se você quer que o seu amigo te visite de outro país. Não é do interesse do nosso país como um grupo. Então, não virá.
Right. Well, here's the other thing: is if he comes over to my house and I take care of him, they probably wouldn't have any problem with that. In fact, the state itself, right, as a guest, they wouldn't have any problem with that.
Okay.
But what ends up happening, here's what ends up happening: the person comes to the country, comes to your house, and then instead of staying at your house, he goes on and goes to
overstay
another house, or he leaves the house and he goes and and he builds his own house in the community. Now, the fact of him building the house doesn't really it doesn't really come to be a problem, but if he gets the use of all of the acquired treasure, or the amount of infrastructure he gets to use, all that, then certain people feel really terrible about that. And I can understand kind of where their mindset is, even though there's a lot of proof that their mindset is kind of a false fear. It's not a real fear, and it shouldn't be a real fear.
Sim. Yeah. E basicamente, né, o que você está dizendo aí me fez pensar em um argumento que vai contra o que eu mesmo disse, que seria, eu acho que em inglês seria chain migration, imigração em corrente migratória, ok? Que seria, se você tem o direito de convidar qualquer pessoa que você quer para sua casa apenas por afinidade, então aquela pessoa também tem o direito de convidar outros. E aí todo mundo entra no país, então faz sentido. Né?
Well, I mean, like, here's the thing. I mean, if you're gonna the idea of a chain migration being, as it's been talked about a lot, in America, which is when we hear about this in the State of the Union address, the President of the United States mentioned clearly that he's going to put an end to chain migration. He got boos from the opposing party. And the point of that is, if the United States, and this is if you just go through this mental exercise for just a bit, we need to be mentally open to this idea. If the United States, which is a country where, like, if I talk about it, about 90% of the people I know, not 100%, but about 90% of the people I know, they would say, I'd like to go to the United States, and it would be cool to go to the United States. And the reason why do they want to go there? Because it's got great infrastructure. It's got a great a lot of different freedoms and a lot of wealth that's been accumulated in the United States. And people know that they can go in there and be a part of that and gain a part of that and build on that. It's not most of them don't want to go to take. They want to go to help build. And that's the main thing. But the idea here comes in. If all of those people come,
se todas essas pessoas quiserem vir, okay.
Right. And then they go and they bring also their parents, who no longer are so much into contributing.
Produtivos.
No longer into contributing. But and they also bring, because they want to, they bring more people and more people from all these different other areas. Then this can destabilize a little bit, and this is one of the things, like the professor. Yeah, it can destabilize quite a bit, because in Harvard, one of the professors from Harvard was talking about this in Denmark. He was talking with a lady from Denmark about this same thing, in the fact that what happens in the cases, and I've seen this in my own life as well, is that when you bring in a lot of people from a lot of different cultures, what tends to happen is the people don't trust the new people coming in.
Sim, ok.
It does
Existe uma
matter.
queda na confiança geral da população.
Right. So it happened in Brazil when the Japanese people first immigrated. They were not trusted by the locals. They ended up in really hard.
Centenas de histórias ruins.
Right. And so the same thing happened. What happened with the Pilgrims, the American, we say the Pilgrims, the British, when they first came to the United States, they were not trusted by the Native Americans, wholesale. The Native Americans didn't trust them.
Naturalmente.
Right. And with good reason. There was a lot of fighting.
Violência também,
violência. And a lot of people got diseases from that, from the diseases that they brought over with them. And so these things happened, and it caused that to happen. Well, later on, more people from Europe came. And what was the divisions? If you ever watched the movies Gangs of New York, this was the native population fighting tooth and nail against the Irish. They were fighting against the Italians. Everybody was so into their own groups. It didn't matter. Basically, everybody from every place was pulled into their own little groups, and people traded mostly with people from their own group. And these neighborhoods still existed I think some of them probably still exist today.
Sim. No Brasil também existe, em cidades maiores como, por exemplo, São Paulo, existe bairros tipicamente mais japoneses, bairros tipicamente mais italianos. Então, existe sim conglomerados étnicos, né, dentro da própria cidade, ok?
Yeah, and this kind of thing happens quite a bit, where you have the groups come in, and right away there's a lacking confidence, even among this is the statistics that this professor from Harvard brought out. He said that even the population that is there and is homogenous, mostly homogenous, that group also loses confidence in itself.
Sim,
so
sim.
This is a process.
No geral, a confiança cai.
It happened in Brazil. It happened in the United States. It's happened many times in both countries. It's happened lots of times, over and over.
Eu acho que você disse isso na nossa última sessão, na nossa última live. Você comentou que normalmente esses países novos que têm essa entrada migratória no início é bem desorganizado mesmo. Existe atrito, existe até colocar tudo em ordem. Certo?
Right, and it takes a little bit of time, but they do become, it shakes out okay, but it does take time, and it is not something that happens overnight. Yeah.
Então, existe esse problema econômico, que acaba sendo um problema econômico, uma disputa por recursos, né? Uma disputa por trabalho, uma disputa, né, de uma desestabilização local, né? Mas existe também a questão moral, né? E como eu posso exemplificar isso? Eu vi o caso, assistindo essa semana, alguns documentários, eu vi o caso de uma família, creio eu que são de Houston, e a mãe, creio eu que é cidadã americana. Ela tem 2 filhos, também nascidos nos Estados Unidos. Porém, o marido dela, ele foi para os Estados Unidos, ele entrou no país ilegalmente, ok? Agora, pensa comigo o seguinte, esse marido dela, quando ele foi para os Estados Unidos, ele era muito jovem, ok? Mas ele não foi levado pelos pais, ele foi por si próprio. Porém, jovens, no geral, todos os jovens que estão nos ouvindo tendem a ser um pouco inconsequentes. Eu era, ok? E o que acontece? Você cruza a fronteira sem pensar, igual uma criança quando faz alguma coisa errada, ok? Você cruza a fronteira sem pensar e quando você se dá por conta, você já está lá, porque você estava imaginando alguma coisa grande, você queria buscar alguma coisa grande, você queria melhorar a sua vida. E agora você está preso lá. Mas acontece que os anos passam, você conhece uma pessoa, tem uma família, ok? Isso aconteceu com milhares de famílias, eu tenho certeza. Só que o que acontece é o seguinte, nesse caso específico que eles usaram como exemplo, foi o rapaz, ele tinha que ir no juiz, ele tinha que ir na corte, ok? Uma vez por, ele tinha que ir uma vez por ano. E ele sempre, ele estava sendo assim, ele estava comparecendo. Ele não era, o único crime dele era ter entrado ilegalmente no país. Ele não era um criminoso, ok? Ele não tinha outro registro de crime. Mas ele estava constantemente indo lá, conversando com o juiz e mostrando para o juiz que, né, ele estava trabalhando, ele estava produzindo e apesar de não ter documentação, ele não estava causando nenhum mal a ninguém, ok? E o que acontece é que depois da troca de governo, ele foi lá né? Na primeira vez que ele foi, já detiveram ele, ok?
Yeah,
e deportaram ele. Como você deporta alguém que tem família no seu país? Será que você não deveria... será que não deveria ser uma coisa caso a caso a ser analisado?
Oh, totally.
Porque o cara não é um criminoso.
This is, and I sat really quietly through that because I think that, yeah, I definitely think this was what I would say is a horrible situation that has happened in the past.
Eu ficaria... Pessoal, eu nunca xingo. Eu nunca xingo. Mas eu ficaria... Okay.
Yeah, you'd be pretty upset. I'd be pretty upset too. But I would be livid. I would be completely angry with that. But and also scared and also very sad. I mean, this is tearing a family apart. I think this is horrible optics for the current administration. But what I have a big problem with is this, and I'm actually glad. I'm actually really glad that the media for once is doing its job, kind of coming out and really coming out against this kind of barbaric, horrible thing, where you're tearing a family apart, especially when the person hadn't done anything particularly wrong other than unauthorized entry into the country. You know, we could very well, he would make it through any of the vetting that needs to be done if it was going to be any kind of what do you call it? I can't think of the words actually escaping my mind. It was a refugee. He would probably pass any refugee vetting that came about, and instead of keeping him there in the country with his children and his wife and his business and everything, they basically gave him the boot, kicked him out. Horrible thing. Okay, but also and especially with the great hypocrisy of that is there's plenty of people that never went and got registered, never went once to the judge, never went once to do anything, and they're not getting kicked out. So his only mistake was going in and trying to be honest about it, and so that you've just rewarded his honesty with kicking him out of the country and tearing away from his family.
História lamentável.
But I have to be honest to say that this was great job media for bringing this to the front attention so that everybody can be understanding what's happened. But what we didn't understand,
dele sirva de exemplo, né? Que a história dele sirva de exemplo.
And I think I'm kind of upset at the media because they're going at it this time. But what happened when a kid who was adopted from Korea, a man from Korea, was adopted into a family, and for the lack of some small clerical error, when we say a clerical error, it means somebody wrote something a little bit incorrectly in the documentation of this guy.
Sim, okay.
He gets his whole document becomes invalid.
Invalid.
And so and so they deport a man who was brought over as a child, adopted
legalmente,
legally adopted, and this is not the Trump administration either. This is the Obama administration. This is what so people are saying, it's because of Trump. I think it's because they're spotlighting a scenario that happened, and we didn't get this spotlight on these scenarios when it was the Obama administration because the media gave him a complete pass. I'm actually really happy that this is coming out because now people are getting a really good shock of it. It's really hurting people's feelings, and that's good because we needed to be aware. We needed to be aware. And I mean, one of the things that people don't understand about me is like they might not know. Well, they think, well, Rob's an American and he's just one of those regular white Americans. Actually, my dad's from Peru. He immigrated to the United States. At any time, his status could have been changed. He actually became an American citizen all through the legal methodology. He went from he immigrated in the 70s to the United States. He'd been there his entire life basically since he was like 19 years old until he until present day he's lived in the United States all through legal means. Now, when he came over, it was through a work contract, like a lot of people do come over. To different countries.
Mesmo.
Right. So he came over to do a job, and it was it was very clear the reason why he'd come over. But I had cousins, and I have aunts and uncles, and many of them came over through other means, like they overstayed tourist visas and overstayed whatever visas that they had to come over, and they've continued in the country. And for me, I've always said, you know what, good for them for coming up and being part of the country, part of the United States, because every last one of them, and this is the thing that's interesting, every last one of my family members that's in the United States that is got a legal status or an illegal status, or we won't say illegal, I don't like that word, the unauthorized immigration or authorized immigration, either one of them, any of them, have been great contributors to the country. I mean, for the love of God, this is the biggest problem that people don't see.
Ok?
Yeah.
Pensa comigo, Rob. Isso que você está falando, ok? Seguindo essa linha de pensamento. Pensa comigo. Essas pessoas, ok? Que estão os imigrantes não documentados. Seria esse o termo agora, né?
Unauthorized, yeah. Né? Right, yeah.
Essas pessoas, elas estão alugando de pessoas que estão dispostas a alugar para elas. Esses imigrantes, eles estão trabalhando para pessoas que estão dispostas a contratá-las.
Right, that's true, yeah.
Essas pessoas, esses imigrantes, eles estão comprando produtos que as pessoas estão dispostas a vender, ok?
Yeah,
então,
that's the big thing, yeah.
Será, assim, na parte moral, na parte ética, seria justo pegar essa pessoa que tem uma família, em alguns casos tem filhos nesse país, né, tem casa nesse país, tem trabalho nesse país, pegar essa pessoa e né, arremessar ela para fora no exílio, né? Porque eu acho que nessa parte eu acho que tinha que ter um pouco mais de consideração. Eu não sou contra você querer colocar o seu país em ordem. Não, né? Não pensa que assim.
No. For me, I mean, it's again on the moral issue of in the basis of it. I'm for open borders to every country on that point. But what has happened here? And I'm analyzing the situation as it is. For me personally, they shouldn't ever tear a family apart. And again, if somebody comes over to the country and wants to make problems, well, then of course the country has the right to kick them out or jail them or give them the justice of the justice system that's in there. That's what they sign up for when they come across the border. But the whole huge problem in the United States, and this is going to maybe not shock some people, but I want people to understand that this is the shocker. The political parties in the United States, they are using that as marionette strings to make the people dance. They're making the people dance. Listen, eu não
havia pensado nisso.
This is a dance that they use to make them dance. They did the same thing in America with gay marriage and gay rights. They did the same thing. This was not something that the government cared about. The government didn't care. The Democrats and the Republicans didn't have a real stake in this matter. They hung that over the people so that they could get political power over them. They're doing the same thing with immigration. And if you look at it, actually, the crazy thing about it is, Republicans in the past, Ronald Reagan gave amnesty to a whole swath of
86.
Right, in 86, he gave a lot of people. It was like, I remember Mexican people that were they just went in and got their they just got their
milhões de pessoas.
Right, yeah. They just went in and got their documents, and then we end up with after him we end up with George Bush, and he says my family's Mexican. So I mean I don't really believe in that part of it, but
okay.
Technically, he's got some family members who are Mexican, but it does not mean that that he was, particularly against border, people coming across the border to work. But the one thing that's interesting, you see, is that nobody ever fixes this problem. There's a good reason why, because
porque você disse 3 milhões de pessoas em 1986, e agora vocês têm 11 a 12 milhões, ou talvez mais. Talvez mais.
Well, the thing is having the undocumented or unauthorized citizenship in the United States, which basically we call them unauthorized citizens, unauthorized labor force, is beneficial to the United States because we're using a class of labor, cheap class that can be exploited. And here's the other point that I want to make about this. This is a sincere point.
Lamentável.
I would love to see, that inexpensive labor being used to build Latin American countries stronger. This is one thing that we see happening. So if the United States wants to actually solve this problem, I have a friend of mine, David, he's a friend of mine, we've been arguing about immigration for the last couple of weeks, but and not necessarily in an unproductive way. He puts up great arguments. I put up the counter arguments. He puts up another argument, and we're getting somewhere with it. But one of the things that he mentioned, and I would like to mention this to other people as well, we have some parts of Mexico have really poor infrastructure, and that makes it so that Mexicans can't actually make the they can't actually make the leap up to better conditions for their living. Right. They cannot develop their country in the way that they want to. This is happening everywhere. Okay. A lot of this idea is America is.
Sim, às vezes por corrupção, às vezes por a falta de know-how mesmo, né? Às vezes as instituições são fracas também, né?
Right. And another big reason why they can't get anything going in these countries is because most of the intelligent people, like really, high intelligent people, are moving to the other countries where they can they recognize there's going to be success there, and they're basically strip mining. They're strip mining human intellectual capacity out of these countries. So it happens quite a bit, and we don't see the opposite happen. We don't see a group of educated people from other countries going down into this. But when we do see it, we see it in certain places like Costa Rica. Costa Rica is a country that is just getting better and better and better because it made it really fashionable and great for people to move down into Costa Rica, and so a lot of educated people are moving down into Costa Rica, and
estão atraindo pessoas.
Right. So they've made the conditions so nice that people will want to move down there to start businesses, to start doing things. And that has actually kept people in Costa Rica. You don't see as many Costa Ricans moving up to the United States because they've got good conditions at home. And this is the one thing that people really don't understand. People wouldn't be leaving their countries if their countries weren't in such horrible situations. And it's in Mexico, for example, when people they don't really understand this, but it was really clear to me. My friend David brought this up, and he really made it clear to me. There's a reason that the northern part of Mexico doesn't have infrastructure for the people that live there. The Mexican government doesn't invest into it. The United States government doesn't invest into it. So the people who live there,
a maioria dos imigrantes.
Right. The people who live there have only one real option if they don't want to be basically a dirt farmer. It's just cross over and try to make something in their life. And I'm going to put it to anybody. I would put it to any American person living in the United States today. If your family was hungry and basically on the brink of starvation, and you knew that all you had to do was cross over to the other side, and your labor would be 5 times or up to 50 times as valuable as it was where you were at, no reasonable person wouldn't do that. And that's why I said, like,
bem honesta, é uma pergunta bem honesta.
Right.
Rob, algumas pessoas dizem que os países mais favorecidos, eles poderiam ajudar de outra forma. Você é uma pessoa de mentalidade muito aberta, então você já é bem claro em relação a isso. Você prefere um mundo sem fronteiras, né? Melhor assim.
Right, yeah, it's definitely no real reason.
Mas algumas pessoas dizem que abrir as fronteiras não seria exatamente a única moeda que você poderia usar para poder ajudar essas pessoas que precisam. Talvez você pudesse ajudar elas lá onde elas estão mesmo, ok?
Right.
Então, existe essa linha de pensamento. Então por que nós não ajudamos o México a se tornar um país, a subir, né? O que falta no México? Como podemos ajudar para que eles possam subir de qualidade? Porém, muitas pessoas dizem que, sim, poderia pagar com outra moeda, né? Ou poderia pagar com dinheiro, mas supostamente esses países, os países ricos, não exatamente dão dinheiro para esses países que estão precisando de desenvolver, né? E hoje, eu estava assistindo o State of the Union do Trump, e ele disse que os Estados Unidos têm interesse agora maior em ajudar esses países financeiramente. Porém, tem que ser, naturalmente, países que tenham o mesmo interesse dos Estados Unidos, ou que sejam países amigos, países aliados, né? Mas na ideia dele, ou na de muitos, né, você não precisa de abrir as fronteiras para ajudar as pessoas. Você pode ajudar as pessoas de outra forma, mantendo elas lá. Melhora a qualidade de vida delas lá.
Here's the thing, and I would put this to most Brazilians. When I meet Brazilians living here in Japan, a lot of them have immigrated. You included, yourself, have immigrated to Japan. Well, what's the principal reason why they don't stay in Brazil? Well, there's not a lot of security there. Japan has a lot of security, so they come up for the security. And one of the things that is interesting, I asked them, I said, well, if the security was great in Brazil, would you be here in Japan? And I would put this to almost anybody. If the security, if there wasn't a lot of violence and a lot of theft and a lot of difficulty, how many Brazilians would actually be in Japan? Probably not very many, because only a few really like Japan for Japan. They like Japan
eu emocionalmente estou conectado com o Japão, ok? Eu não voltaria ao Brasil por mais... Eu já estou muito tempo aqui, ok? Então eu já estou emocionalmente conectado com o país, ok? Então é do meu interesse continuar aqui, vivendo aqui. Meu filho está crescendo aqui, ele está indo para a escola aqui, ok? Então é do meu interesse ficar aqui, né? Mas a maioria dos meus amigos brasileiros aqui no Japão, eles sim, eles têm o intuito de retornar, sim, tá? A maioria quer retornar. Agora, tem sim uma parcela que está comprando casa aqui, que já está, né, estabelecendo a residência fixa.
And that's totally awesome, because one of the things that I think is fine about immigration, and I mean, it's very hard to make a logical argument against immigration for people who have an emotional connection to the country that they're going to go live in, who want to help build the country into a better country one way or another. There's no logical argument against that. And when I find people arguing against it, when they will say these small, very short-sighted arguments, if you look at the long-term investment of having a multicultural country, what's the largest and most powerful country to date? It's the United States of America, built completely out of immigration policies. It's a country of immigrants.
Eu acho que se você for no Vale do Silício, hoje vai estar a maioria ali. Eu estava falando com um amigo meu que está nos Estados Unidos recentemente. Ele me disse que ele está lá, né? Ele mora lá. Ele disse para mim que se hoje você entrar na Google, vai ter uma grande parcela de gente ali que é estrangeiro trabalhando naquela empresa, né? E são pessoas, pessoas especializadas, mão de obra especializada, né?
And this is where I actually have a big problem with that. I don't have a problem with them coming over and taking those jobs. But what my sadness, and it's more of a sadness, because I recognize that for every person that gets pulled out of that leaves their country to go make a life somewhere else,
poderiam estar ajudando o país deles.
Could be actually building their country stronger, and maybe eventually it will come back. We have what is called a remissions. You know, when we talk about remissions. So when people leave another country and go to another country, they send money back home, and that's one way to help a country. And this is one of the reasons that Mexico benefits immensely by the United States. I mean, the remissions that come back to Mexico from people living in the United States and sending money is enormous. And it's actually super duper helpful for the government of Mexico, but also it causes a huge problem too, because then they don't have an incentive. The government has no incentive to make their country better, right?
Yeah,
If they're
verdade.
getting
É melhor
money
manter eles
from
lá
another,
porque o dinheiro tá vindo fácil. Yeah,
right?
o dinheiro
So
tá
they
vindo
have
fácil,
no.
não vão mudar isso.
It's simply it's a lot like some of the schools where I've worked, and I would say that I've worked in some schools where the company, it's quite simple. They have no incentive to keep their teachers in the school, other than to do class. If a good teacher comes, they don't have an incentive to pay them more because they don't care if the students get any more education. The same kind of thing that's happening with the countries.
É só a parte financeira mesmo, né?
They just know that money is coming in. It's sure to come in, and if they keep that the status quo the same way that it is, the governing class does not lose a thing by having those people in other countries sending money back to their country. And so, Japan, in this city, Brazil doesn't lose a thing. In fact,
muita gente aqui mandando dinheiro para lá.
Right, sending money from Japan to Brazil. And so for Brazil, there's many people that can get a visa to go to Japan and work and send money back to Brazil. Let them go, and they're going to be happy as hey to do it. The same with Mexico, same with a lot of these other countries. And there's I don't see anything particularly wrong with anybody sending money back. That's their complete right to do. But the way that the governments manipulate it's very very horrible, because these problems of immigration could all be settled quite easily if they would just allow people to go and come as they may. It should be.
Sim, porque agora você não tem controle mais, né? Sim.
Yeah.
Ninguém vai estar ganhando nada com isso além do indivíduo.
Right, but they also there's a huge control that we end up having. This is the thing that bothers me about immigration the most, is how many people are exploited by not having documentation. In the United States, the unauthorized immigrant to the United States suffers horribly, because if he doesn't get paid from his boss, granted, he can say to the other immigrants, "I didn't get paid from this boss. I did work for him and he didn't get paid." They can work an entire month, and the boss can say, "Yeah, I'm not paying." Or he can just say, he can call immigration services and get them kicked out of the country. So the power is really in the boss's hands. They don't usually do it, but it happens. It happens that they don't even get paid. And so this is the kind of thing that I find really disconcerting about the immigration process. Until somebody wants to actually fix it, there's going to be these people exploited by that. The unauthorized immigrants exploited completely in the United States. It doesn't happen as much here in Brazil, in Japan, but it does actually. We have undocumented workers from different countries, and they have no recourse once they're in Japan, because the minute they come out of the shadow, Japan sends them, deports them immediately. There's not even a small chance that they'll stay.
Não, aqui sim, o pente aqui é muito fino. O pente é fino. Mas eu estava tentando me lembrar o nome de um filme que você comentou sobre as atrocidades que acontecem e a exploração que acontece da mão desses imigrantes, né? Que não tem poder, não tem como se defender.
Yeah. Right.
E eu assisti, eu estava tentando me lembrar o nome desse filme, é American alguma coisa. Eu vou me lembrar, depois eu coloco aqui, depois eu procuro e coloco nos comentários embaixo, talvez o trailer. Mas assim, chega ao ponto, eu fiquei horrorizado de assim ter exploração sexual também, ok? Então, quando toca nisso, Rob, eu fico bem enojado. Então foi um filme que eu assisti que eu fiquei traumatizado, ok? Esses funcionários trabalham em um frigorífico, né?
Right. Yeah, it's the worst thing ever. It happens in Japan. It happens in other countries. There's actually a sex slave trade going on in the world right now. It actually exists, and I mean, people, and a lot of it exists. A lot of it exists because of these stupid things we call borders. And the brutality of the state to just basically say, no, you can't cross here, when it could mean life or death. I mean, I don't like to get involved in these kind of conversations online these days, because anytime I put my arguments, which are that it's way more complicated than just let them all in, they automatically want to tell me that I'm some kind of anti-humanitarian, that I want everybody to starve and I want those poor kids. No, actually, I really want everybody to have more success. And anytime that that you make an argument against the people moving over, people are usually going to throw a whole bunch of ad hominem at you and say, you're this, you're that, and the other thing. But the truth of the matter is, I want it to be completely understood. I am for no borders on no countries ever, and I think that those are an invitation. The worst kind of travesty that we have in the world today. It's all this tribalism that comes up and everything else that comes with it.
E as pessoas realmente ficam nos nervos quando você fala que estão trazendo um ônibus lotado, cheio de gente, e está vindo para minha cidade, e todas essas pessoas são ilegais e não deveriam estar aqui. E às vezes as pessoas vão para a rua, né? Vão protestar, vão dizer que não quer essas pessoas aqui.
Right.
Né? Mas de uma forma geral, assim, overall, ok? Eu acho, e por favor, fique à vontade para dizer que não, mas eu acho que existe prosperidade, sim, na imigração. Eu acho que gera prosperidade para a pessoa que está imigrando, sim. E, por exemplo,
not only for the people
eu acho
who
que
immigrate.
Se existisse trânsito livre, automaticamente, por existir trânsito livre, você já aumenta o giro econômico, ok? Quando você tem trânsito livre, então você acaba gerando mais emprego, simplesmente porque as pessoas estão livres para ir onde querem ir, ok? Eu sei que tem que ter regulamento, eu entendo.
Well, I don't think that there needs to be the kind of regulation that we have. What we need to have, in fact, is a really better understanding of the whole issue at large. But as far as do economies grow with immigration? Every single economist, okay, even the ones that are basically, we had like, what was it, the partisan, this idea we have is partisan partisanism. So you have a group that says they don't want immigration. You have a group that says they want immigration. When both of them look at it through the scope of economics, both of them come to the same conclusion, that economically immigration makes sense. It makes sense, even if even the ones that it makes it really close. It's still a net gain in the society, and we see it all the time. One of the things that we never stop seeing is that the immigration, United States, nation of immigrants, still the strongest country in the world by a long shot, and that's the reason why. It's the reason why it's got such a good thing going on.
Se pelo lado moral existe todos esses exemplos que a gente citou, né, o lado ético também, né? Se pelo lado econômico só gera prosperidade, então falta falar do lado político, ok? E eu acho que um cara que está passando fome, ou um refugiado, honestamente, eu acho que ele não está preocupado em ir para um país rico simplesmente para votar. Ele não está, um imigrante não está indo para os Estados Unidos para votar, ele está indo para lá para ter uma qualidade de vida que ele não tem no país de origem dele, ok? Então, eu acho que as pessoas estão mais preocupadas em eu tenho um vizinho que não fala a minha língua do que o vizinho vai votar ou não. É mais uma questão de, é duro falar isso, mas eu acho que existe um dedo de... eu não queria falar isso, mas eu acho que existe um instinto racial, sim. Eu acho que existe um instinto racial.
No, this is something every single generation, and you saw it in Brazil. I want you to think about this in Brazil. In the history, when I studied Brazilian history, every new group, first you had the Portuguese, of course we had Native Americans before that, then we had the Portuguese come in. When another group came in, were they accepted by the Portuguese? Were the Spanish accepted by the Portuguese? No. Were the Dutch, were they accepted by the Portuguese? No.
Não,
any of these groups
chutamos eles para fora, sim.
Right. So every single group that entered after the Portuguese was treated terribly. And now, if you go to Brazil, you notice that the Italians, those that are Italian descent, Portuguese descent, Spanish descent, they don't make a single difference between them at all. You know, they're all considered what we say the white class in Brazil, and there's no distinction particularly except for I'm Italian, that's great, I'm Portuguese.
Talvez o sobrenome, né? O Tibério está nos assistindo. O Tibério é Ferrari, ele é italiano.
Ferrari, he's Italian,
então,
right? Yeah. And so that's the main point.
Sobraram os nomes. Sobraram os nomes.
And that's the
então,
only
existe
point.
Sim um dedo racial.
Yeah, it totally does exist.
Muitas pessoas dizem que imigrantes simplesmente entram no seu país, não contribuem com impostos e acabam sentando nos benefícios sociais, no welfare, ok? Eu pago os meus impostos, ok? O meu, aliás, é descontado direto da fonte, ok?
Sure,
Se meu filho estuda aqui, então eu acho que eu tenho obrigação de pagar o imposto para ter uma cidade melhor, né? Faz parte. Eu não acho, eu não tenho problema nenhum com pagar imposto. Mas eu acho que, de fato, é justo, se você está em um outro país, você tem que pagar os impostos. Então, pessoal, não tem como, tá? Tem que pagar. Eu acho que, né, se você está usando, é bom você pagar. Se você está usando, é bom você pagar.
Again, I think that this is the point that people don't understand. Again, people don't understand that when people come into the United States to work, they pay taxes. And they have to, because they don't go over with no documents. This is the false thing that they say. You can't get a job without actually having, you can get some kinds of jobs, but you can't really get most jobs without some kind of documentation. So what do? They buy a false document. They buy a false Social Security number. And they use that to pay taxes. They can pay into it with the false Social Security number. But they don't always... né? They don't always get the return on their taxes like most people do. And the other thing about it is they don't use the police. They don't call the police when they're in trouble. Why? So they're not using the police.
Não estão usando o serviço público.
Right. They're not using a lot of the services, the public services. They're being very careful. They're not using the court systems as much as possible, because if they don't have the documentation, it'll be found out and they'll be kicked out of the country. So,
então, na verdade, o imigrante legal está evitando ter esse contato, né? Porque ele está escondendo. Ele está se escondendo.
Yes. And so what we actually see is, one of the reasons that the sides don't want to give them any kind of legitimacy is because they know that once they give them legitimacy to be in the country, then they're going to have to pay for all. They're going to use all those services, and so that's one of the other reasons that they're not interested in that. The Democrats or the Republicans, they've all had plenty of chances to fix immigration. They know that they can just keep this marionette puppet dancing,
bom ter isso.
and dividing people on this issue, and instead of people really coming to terms with it, I will say that there's no way to come to terms when people yell at each other. This is the problem too. Like, a lot of people are saying this. I mean, it happens a lot. The first time a white person in America says that they're not happy with immigration or the immigrants coming in, what's the first thing that comes out of the mouth of somebody who is pro-immigration? You're a racist. This is the first thing that comes out of the mouth. And the problem with this, when somebody says you're a racist to somebody else, what do you expect that person to do? They're gonna get defensive.
Claro. Não é uma boa maneira de aproximar do problema.
Right. So when people use what is called in English the argument of ad hominem, we're going to yell at you and say you're a Nazi, say you're this, you're that, you're a bigot, all of these, you're a xenophobe, you're a homophobe, you're whatever phobe. Then
ad hominem.
Yeah, ad hominem. It's Latin. It means that it's at the man. It's you attack the person, right? So when you attack the person, then that's an ad hominem. You're just saying mean things to them. To discredit them as an individual.
Sim, você ridiculariza a pessoa, claro.
Right. And so this kind of thing is totally unproductive, and it ends up happening every time. The people that are on the right will do it. They'll say, "Oh, you crazy liberals."
Falta de bom senso, na verdade.
Right. Instead, it's because they don't have another argument. They don't have real arguments. They just have this tribalism that's in their mind. And again, if I call you're a tribalist or a statist, that's kind of the same thing. It's an ad hominem, and it doesn't go anywhere. So you have to actually open up to the ideas and say, look, I'm not going to necessarily try to convince you of anything. I just want you to understand these are my arguments for why I believe the way I believe. And this is what has to happen, but it doesn't.
Eu acho que toda pessoa que é contra a imigração, a entrada de pessoas novas na comunidade, ela tem motivos, tipicamente motivos econômicos, não são somente motivos, eu não quero essa pessoa aqui porque ela vai gerar uma competição, algo assim, né? E a pessoa que também é a favor, ela também tem seus interesses. Talvez ela tenha família que está fora e ela quer que essa pessoa venha, talvez ela quer contratar funcionários, ela quer contratar mão de obra, o interesse econômico, então é de se entender. Bom, existe a questão do crime, imigrante está associada ao crime. Você vê alguma lógica? Eu acho que pode ter um índice de marginalização, porque o imigrante, ele não está... Talvez ele não assimilou ainda a cultura, talvez ele não fala a língua, então falta oportunidade. Talvez ele não consiga encontrar a oportunidade dele. E o que acontece? Ele vai procurar desesperadamente alguma maneira de fazer dinheiro, ok? E isso pode levá-lo ao crime.
Right.
Será que faz sentido essa...
Oh yeah, I understand exactly what you're saying, and it does make sense that people believe this, but the reality is totally different than what people actually think. What we notice, and this is a rule that you'll see, I can do 10 things that are just completely in your favor. I can do 10 things in favor. But if I do one thing that is not in your favor, what is the one thing you're going to remember? Yeah. You're going to remember that one time that I was that I did something wrong. And this is the thing that what happens. The normal immigrant that is an undocumented immigrant that goes into the United States, and even the people with documentation in the United States, anybody who's an immigrant or a minority of any kind, the grand majority of them don't do anything particularly horrible. For the few that do, it sticks out crazy. It's like this. It's just a glaring, huge thing. You know, the idea during the State of the Union address that Trump had, he talked about MS-13, which is a terrorist organization. Let's call it for what it is. They're a gang. They're a gang of terrorists, and anybody who's part of MS-13. I have no problem with the government of the United States going out and just collecting every last one of those people and, you know, putting them in prison. They're thugs, they're murderers, they are those evil people. But if we're going to paint the whole country, Latino Americans, Latin Americans, as MS-13, that's insane. That's insane. But the same thing happens, you know, it's the same thing with any kind of, if there's any kind of attacks from a Middle Eastern terrorist organization, what do we say? Oh, you know, it's all of Islam that's horrible. It's all Islam's fault. The same thing.
Você não pode associar um grupo de extremistas a uma população inteira.
It's the same thing. One white guy does something is the KKK. We had, like in Charlottesville, there was a bunch of people that was marching with the white supremacist kind of people. This is such a tiny portion of the population that it would be simple. The government actually, in my opinion, they should really crack down on these groups. The minute they do something horrible, crack down. I mean, with MS-13, it's crazy. They all have tattoos of MS-13 on them. It's not hard to find out who it is. Yeah, you could just go and pick them all up. It wouldn't take too long. It's like, okay. I mean, I don't think that it's a good idea for governments to go and show me your tattoos. But these guys are so brazen about it. They are showing their tattoos on their face. You could easily take care of these things. So when Trump says he wants to take care of this kind of thing, it's totally. When he says that, and he's talking about MS-13. Why doesn't he just do it? Why doesn't he just take care of them? Because they don't. Because they need those. The governments need those bad actors to be able to be legitimate. If they don't have those bad actors, then they don't have a reason to be. This is the way they can pump money into the law enforcement. This is the way that they can. The drug war, the whole drug war, is just one big cash cow for the people in the top that are going to be using that money to do whatever they want to do with it. It doesn't protect the
Você
people.
falou termo que eu não conhecia, cash cow.
Cash cow. Yeah, it just keeps producing cash instead of milk. It produces cash, and it's the worst kind of thing that we see in the world from government. It's one of those horrible things that we see. So it's just ingenuine.
Você não deveria confundir traficante com imigrante. Não deveria confundir traficante com imigrante.
It's insane.
Não é a mesma coisa.
The traffickers, they're happy to be in their own country. They just wanted to send the money across.
Eles só querem vender.
That's the same thing. I mean, there's no. It's like saying that the CEOs of Toyota are traffickers for bringing over the drugs, bringing over the cars. If the cars that came into the United States were from Toyota, they came into the United States and it was against the law to have a Toyota car, and people really wanted Toyota cars, they'd get them.
É muito simples. Existe uma demanda e existe quem resolve o problema da demanda. Se você produz, se você tem, você vende, ok?
Exactly.
É a mesma economia, né? A mesma ideia.
Yes,
bom, Rob, para poder envelopar isso aqui, ok? Você, sem mencionar nomes, mas você tem algum amigo que está atualmente não documentado? Alguém que você conheça próximo?
I'm sure that there's probably members of my own family that are not documented, and I'm
também não posso. Eu não posso mencionar nomes, mas eu acho que a comunidade brasileira sabe. Aqui no Japão existe o caso de uma família que recentemente a mãe recebeu um pedido de um convite de retorno ao seu país de origem, ou seja, um pedido de deportação, né? Ela estava entrando em processo de deportação. Porém, ela tem 2 filhos, os 2 filhos nasceram aqui, não falam português, nunca foram no Brasil, simplesmente ela está em status ilegal, ok? Atualmente. E eu não sei como se encontra a situação dessa família, mas é um desses casos que é lamentável, porque não faz sentido mandar ela embora mais. Deixa a mulher aqui, ok? As pessoas não são máquinas. Uma vez que você deixa elas entrarem, não é simplesmente tirar elas daqui e jogar elas fora, ok? É um pouquinho mais complicado, ok? Claro que se a pessoa é um criminoso, um assassino, e você tem a opção de exilar essa pessoa, é melhor exilar essa pessoa do que manter ela presa no seu país e gerar gastos, né? Porque manter um preso também gera gasto, certo? Manda ela de volta para o país dela. Mas o Trump, eu escutei nas próprias palavras do Trump, ele disse, do que resolve você catch and release, pegar o imigrante legal e deportá-lo, né? Porque depois você acaba se deparando com ele no próprio campo de batalha, ok? Na própria em um atrito, né? Você acaba se deparando com essa pessoa que você deixou aí. Então, parece que no State of the Union também ele comentou que gostaria de manter Guantánamo. Ele gostaria de segurar.
Também, it's crazy. This is all the things that I hate about statism. It's nothing to do with political parties. These are the state is alive and well, doing this horrible stuff. Now it looks like Trump's the main man. He's the guy that everybody wants to hate. I don't like him, just like I didn't like Obama, just like I didn't like Bush, just like I didn't like Clinton, just like I didn't like George W. Bush. None of these guys are good actors. They're horrible people. And then the more people that understand that, when you really analyze what all of these governors have done, what all of these presidents have done, not one of them stands up to the scrutiny. They're all corrupt. They're all doing horrible things. And when we don't hold them all accountable, it really makes me upset. So this is the big thing that I see with Trump. I'm glad that the media hates him, because it's about time that we've been able to expose somebody. Because if the media hadn't held him to accountability, he might have done way worse things. But because they have, he's been really limited on what he's been able to do. And I'm really happy about that. And I would hope that in the future, that when Oprah gets elected president, that they hold her accountable to the same,
ela vai candidatar.
Well, I don't know about that, but I'm just saying, when the next person comes in, right? I mean, actually, interestingly enough, and I mean, this is the crazy thing, talking to people, some American citizens after the State of the Union address, regular average Joe Americans, and you know what? They are more behind Trump than ever before. That for the majority of them, the faces of the Democrats during that, where they wouldn't clap for the soldiers, they weren't clapping for all of the people that Trump brought out to represent who are these great Americans, and the Democrats sat down and didn't clap and didn't do a dang thing. The majority of Americans saw that, and it was the worst optics the Democrats could have ever had. They needed to clap for the people, not for Trump, but their hatred towards Trump made it so much more difficult for them in the future. They've overplayed their hand. I would be surprised. I would be surprised if Trump doesn't win the next election. And I don't like him. I can't stand him. I really can't stand him. I mean, he's dropped more bombs in shorter time than the presidents before him. He'll probably drop more bombs. He's keeping Guantanamo open. He's a very false person, and I'm glad that the media hates his guts. But I think that the Democrats, the party, they're not in touch with the American people anymore, and it's going to be difficult for them to win. It really is.
Yeah. Eu acho que política tem, né, o alto escalão aí tem um peso gigantesco na decisão de milhões de vidas, né, que poderiam simplesmente encontrar um caminho para legalizar, ou então simplesmente pegar todo mundo e deportar. Você vai ter que deportar muita gente, ok? Você vai ter que deportar muita gente.
Impossible.
E eu acho meio impossível mesmo, ok?
I mean, if you just think about the manpower, I mean, how many cops are you going to have? You know, I mean, how many policemen are you
Exatamente, são milhões de pessoas que você vai ter que deportar, literalmente. Eu acho que não vai acontecer. E data está chegando com data. O fim da proteção que os Dreamers têm sob a DACA já está com prazo. Eu acho que em março, né, seria a data limite. Então eles estão pensando o que serão dessas pessoas, né? A gente fala desses jovens, mas tem algumas pessoas aí que têm a minha idade já, tá? Quase 40 anos, né? Que estão dependendo do Estado, né? Do país tomar uma atitude, tomar uma posição.
Well, you know, the crazy thing about this, Yuri, and I want to bring this up, this is the crazy thing. If you look at what Trump offered in that, he offered to basically legalize most of the DACA members. You know, most of them were going to get legalization. Right. But at the same time, when you say that there's a knife on the neck, well, the knife on the neck is that they're not going to let chain migration happen. Well, that's
os 25 bilhões da parede.
Well, that's why they didn't accept it. But again, this idea that the wall, Trump's way crazy on that. I've never been for the wall. I think it's the stupidest thing ever. But I think that when it does not matter. I will tell you this. This is my prediction. It will not matter what he offers the Democrats. They will say no to everything, and they will never agree with anything he says to do. Right? They just will not agree to anything.
Provavelmente aconteceria com outro presidente, mas esse não. Né?
Yeah, this one I don't think we get it. Yeah.
Bom, Rob, dessa lição, dessa semana, o meu aprendizado foi principalmente que nem todo caso é o mesmo caso. Eu acho que é injusto você querer simplesmente destruir a vida de uma pessoa, às vezes destruir famílias, ok? Eu acho que tem que ser pensado caso a caso, sim, ok? É uma quantidade de gente gigantesca, não sei se será possível ver isso caso a caso, porque normalmente o que eles querem é um blanket, né, para resolver o problema por inteiro, uma coberta que resolva tudo isso. Você coloca um cobertor em tudo aquilo, né? Vamos resolver isso aqui num pacote, ok? Só que aí você vai ter muita coisa que não cabe ali debaixo, né? Então tem que tomar cuidado. Foi uma semana que eu aprendi bastante. Thank you, muito obrigado.
Thank you as well.
Oportunidade. Tiberius, você esteve aqui o tempo todo. Thank you também por estar
Thank you
nos
for all of you
acompanhando.
that have watched it. Yes.
Todos que nos assistiram.
Like and share. Please like and share.
Compartilhem, pessoal, né? Ajuda a gente aí. Se vocês compartilharem, nós ficamos mais motivados. Nós não estamos aqui para vender nada, ok? É simplesmente gerar conteúdo para quem quer aprender mais.
Fun conversation
para quem está aprendendo português, para quem está aprendendo inglês também, ok? Todos que nos assistiram até agora, thank you so much. Muito obrigado a todos que nos assistiram. Semana que vem a gente está aqui de novo, Rob. Então a gente vai pensando aí em algum tema. Pessoal, se vocês tiverem aí alguma ideia que vocês queiram
please give us a topic, give us a polemic, controversial topic. Yes. Just give us that topic.
Você tinha comentado feminismo. Feminismo é uma coisa que eu acho que a gente vai ter que mexer nisso também, ok? É uma ferida que vamos ter que...
Listen. If we're gonna do feminism, we gotta bring a woman on.
É verdade.
This is not gonna be pretty.
Sim, eles estão falando de feminismo. Dois caras.
Dois caras. Right. Well, we could...
Vamos pensar, vai aparecer. Fica aí a dica para Janet, ok? A Janet, não sei, acho que você conhece a Janet, filipina.
Sure, okay, yeah.
Janet,
wow,
talvez
she
a
does
Janet.
Portuguese and
ela é multilingüe também, né?
And a different country. That would just
dia
be
eu vou
great.
chegar no seu nível, Rob. You're
already on my level. What are you talking about? You're come on.
Estou estudando firme.
You know, it'd be interesting if she came on and did Japanese.
É verdade.
Because she could speak in Japanese the whole time.
Eu falei com ela essa semana. Janet, fica o convite, ok? Bom, pessoal, thank you so much, ok? Eu vou tomar um banho, eu vou jantar e depois eu vou reassistir isso aqui. Eu gosto de reassistir. E amanhã, provavelmente, isso aqui já vai estar na forma de podcast para vocês, ok? Eu vou deixar aqui, já que a gente já começou com isso, fica com isso. Rob, deixa eu só ver se eu consigo colocar o meu playback aqui alto. Ok? Ops, espera aí. Deixa eu só cancelar o meu áudio aqui. Deixa eu cancelar esse aqui. Eu tenho que parar. Aí, agora eu volto nesse aqui. Coloco um áudio aqui. Pronto para dar suas palavras finais?
Yeah, thanks for everything. Like and share. That's all I want to say. Enjoy it. We will talk about feminism at some point, but we will need a woman to come on and talk with us. So I don't want to do that as two men. Janet would be awesome. Yeah.
Okay, guys. Thank you so much. Bye.
See ya.